What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Shut up!
The Suicide Squad. Not to be confused with the 2016 big fat dump of a movie, Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad was written and directed by James Gunn and released just recently in theaters and on HBO Max. As I'm sure you're aware by now if you're watching this video, the Suicide Squad is the nickname for a group of convicts that the US government recruits to do missions for them that are potentially suicidal in exchange for lower prison sentences. We have a couple of returning characters from the first Suicide Squad: Rick Flag, played by Joel Kinnaman, Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, Captain Boomerang, played by Jai Courtney, and of course, Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie. And let's just get this out of the way right off the top. As I mentioned before, Suicide Squad from 2016 was awful. It was a big, gross poop of a movie. And you know what? Remaking it's not a terrible idea, but I was a little skeptical coming into this. And I'll tell you why I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of comic book and superhero movies in general now because a lot of them get pretty formulaic and cookie cutter, if you know what I mean. Warner Brothers and Marvel and anyone else making comic book movies sink so much money into each movie that they always try to play it safe and make everyone happy, which results in really kind of boring movies that are all a little similar. And that's not always the case. There are exceptions, don't get me wrong. But it seems to me when they find a movie that works at the box office, they just copy that formula for all the next ones until it stops working. And that it gets kind of boring to me, and I want something different.
Tell him, Steve Dave.
And let me tell you, The Suicide Squad was that something different that I've been looking for. I was super skeptical because I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this is trying to be funny and I don't find it that funny. And it's Warner Brothers and the DCEU has not really been my bag, baby.
This sort of thing ain't my bag, baby.
So I don't know. I like Guardians of the Galaxy. I tend to like James Gunn's writing, but I was still like, oh no, are they gonna mess up another Suicide Squad? And I'm here to tell you, they did not. Thank goodness. Now, fair warning for the rest of the video. I'm gonna mention some things that aren't spoilers. There are things that were included in the trailer, but if you don't want to know anything going in, now is the time to jump ship, Captain. Now, if you stuck around to this point, you might be one of my siblings, but if you're not, hey, thanks for watching. So I had mentioned that I didn't find the trailers that I watched for the Suicide Squad particularly funny, and I'm here to tell you that's because they saved the best stuff for the movie, and that's exactly what they should have done. So I feel a little bad for judging it from the trailer right from the beginning. Too many times nowadays, especially with movies that are supposed to be funny or just straight up comedies, they'll include all the best jokes in the trailer, so when you see it, you're like, well, everything was spoiled for me. Nothing else was added by seeing the whole movie. This one, it included things in the trailer to tease people, to get them excited, but the bulk of stuff was just left in the movie, and I really appreciated that. I laughed out loud multiple times, and I can't really remember a lot of recent movies that have made me do that. It was such a breath of fresh air. Now, I'm not a guy who reads comic books, so take this with a grain of salt, but James Gunn has a way of writing these comic book movies to make them feel very fun and comic booky. They're a little quirky and weird. Some of the other DCEU movies are trying way too hard to be badass. They always include people that they think are gonna be like, oh, that's scary, that's cool, or whatever. There's so many comic characters out there that are so weird, and he includes some of them in this movie, and I like that. There's a character called Polka-Dot Man, for crying out loud, and I love that. You think you would have seen a character called Polka-Dot Man that we're supposed to root for in any of the other DC movies? I don't think so. And you know what? The movie actually got me to care about him, so props to them. There's characters like King Shark, which, you know, you may have seen in other stuff because he is pretty badass, but they make him so silly and dumb, and I love that. And he's voiced by Sylvester Stallone, so that's bonus points. And of course, there's the unforgettable character of Weasel. My word, he looks like a Muppet on crack. I love it. And of course, Margot Robbie is good as Harley Quinn, and she's better in this one than in Suicide Squad because she's written more the way she's supposed to and not weird and kind of over-sexualized, which was unfortunate. There's a ton of actors you'll like in this, too many to name because I don't want to leave anyone out, but I really liked all the performances. They felt like they nailed the characters to a T, and the sense of humor is top notch, top of the charts.
Top notch, top notch.
And this movie is rated R, so they're allowed to get really bloody and violent and drop F-bombs, which seems really fitting for the Suicide Squad. So all of that combined, plus a lot of the stylistic choices that James Gunn makes in terms of when to show like title cards or, you know, weaving things into the plot and into the scenes in a creative way, it's all just mwah, chef's kiss.
Very disgusting.
Plus, this movie gets pretty deep, philosophical, and emotional at many points. It also subverts expectations to an extent. It still has to follow some kind of, you know, normal arc because it's a movie. A movie's got to follow an arc. But it does different things. It changes up the formula from other comic book movies, and you know that's what I was looking for, right? Now, no movie is without its flaws, but I feel like the ones that I would pick for this movie are all nitpicks or very small things that don't hurt it in the long run. There are a couple of stylistic choices where I go, that's probably not what I would have done, but I can appreciate the effort. Not every joke lands, but I'd say 90% of them do. But, you know, the other 10%, I was like, okay, they're not egregious like in some comic book movies.
Bullseye.
So it can be excused if not all of them land. Not all of the jokes are for me. And so that's fine. Not all of them are going to make me laugh hysterically, but a ton of them did. And I was just so pleased to see it. You know, I was a little wary about this movie. I had planned on watching it, but I was dragging my feet on it because I was a little scared and didn't want to be disappointed. But I gotta give props to my brother Mark for pushing me to watch it because I had a hell of a time, and I think you will too if you watch it.
School his ass, Mark.
When all is said and done, The Suicide Squad is a hell of a watch, and I highly recommend it. I'm gonna give it a 9.2 out of 10. The Suicide Squad is a killer flick. Now I'm about to say two things, and they both might be controversial. One, this is by far my favorite DCEU movie, and it's not even close. 2, I like this better than both Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I'd never thought I'd say that, but James Gunn, you outdid yourself, so good job, man. Alright guys, well if you like this review, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. It helps the channel out, and check back for more reviews soon.
And
Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.